Alright, so we're picking immediately up from the end to the last chapter here, and as short as this chapter was, there was just so many good moments, right? Especially seeing Yoru back in action, because it's been ever since the first chapter of part 2 that we saw her actually fight, so it's really satisfying to see more to this side of her. And I guess it also helps that we're back on the weekly release schedule for the manga, so that could also help explain why everything here felt so smooth. I'd say this was honestly an amazing chapter overall, but as the fight continues, we're seeing Yuko eventually send Yoru flying into one of the classrooms now, and she tries to block the attack but ends up crashing through the door. And all of the students are freaking out at this point. One of the teachers hits the alarm notifying everyone to leave the building, and at this point we're seeing the students start to leave and question if this is all actually legit, and then Yuko just pulls around the corner here and says this is not a drill. And this next part is really interesting. Yuko specifically targets the girls who put the raw meat in her shoe locker back in chapter 100, and it's the same 3 girls who we saw tease her for hanging around Yoshida and Yuko. Again, this is going all the way back to chapter 100. So besides these 3 girls, it's unclear if there was anyone else who was actually bullying Asa, right? And I think that's really relevant to the bigger point here, because after Yuko finds out who stuffed the raw meat in Asa's shoes, she says, "It was you girls, I knew it." And like I had already mentioned, this is referencing back to chapter 100, where even Yoshida was also confused as to why these girls were picking on her. So I don't know, if Yuko already had the assumption it was these 3 girls, then why not deal with them separately, right? In other words, I don't know why she's involving the entire school here, but at the same time, it's not like she's been completely logical about all of this either. I mean, she even killed her neighbor for gambling his own welfare, so we know that she's definitely unhinged to the point that she would want to take justice into her own hands. But it still begs the question as to why she didn't consider isolating these 3 girls instead of making this whole scene, because she was very careful to hide the body of her neighbor. We even see her burning it in the last chapter, so I'm curious as to why she didn't take some extra measures to secure herself after she had dealt with Asa's bullies. It seems like there's a secondary motive to what she's doing here. But getting back to the fight, we're seeing Yoru make this weapon out of a pencil. She calls it the pencil spear and throws it at Yuko, and this makes sense because we know Yoru can make a weapon out of anything she touches, but it's definitely a lot larger than a pencil, right? Regardless, Yuko is able to avoid the attack. I'm assuming she kills one of the 3 girls here, and then one of them starts to shout at Yuko telling her to stop, but then Yuko just slams her head into a wall here. So despite Yuko believing this was the last of the 3 bullies, we only see her actually kill 2 students here, and it's not even clear if the first kill was even one of the girls, so this is just me assuming, but I guess this is all gonna come full circle later on in the story, right? Like maybe the one who got away ends up returning at some point later, and Yuko only believes she killed all 3 of them at the moment, who knows? But then we're coming to what I find the most interesting part in the chapter. We're seeing the Devil Hunter Club step in, and the first character we see is this guy called Seigi Okaku, and he says, "Devil Hunter Club Seigi Okaku, allow me to buy time until the Devil Hunters get here." So we know for a fact that Devil Hunters are arriving at some point during all of this, but then we're seeing a second club member introduced here named Furio. And what's interesting about all of this is that some of these characters are actually named, right? And I talked about this in last week's video for chapter 106, where I was wondering how the Devil Hunter Club would fit into all of this, because we know that Denji's apparently a member according to Yoshida, and we know Yoshida is also trying to join, but we also know that Yoru really wants to join as well to find Chainsaw Man. But what's probably most interesting about all of this is that of the 3 members that we see make an appearance here, we actually get names for 2 of them, Seigi, Okaku, and Furio. And I don't think they're actually dead by the end of the chapter, because Yoru had made it very clear that Yuko couldn't kill her in a fight because that would also kill Asa, and this could partially be why Yuko isn't the one trying to fight Yoru in this chapter. It's consistently Yoru who's initiating the attack, but as a threat to her, after the 3 Devil Hunter Club members are all defeated, Yuko just says to Yoru, "Now be good unless you want to wind up like them." Again, Yuko knows that she can't straight up kill her, or else it would just defeat the purpose of trying to save Asa in the first place, and there's also a few times where Yuko makes it clear that she doesn't want to kill any innocents, so I really doubt that she outright killed these 3 club members. And whether they're alive or not is important if we're ever supposed to see any real characters in the club, if and when we see Asa, Yoshida, and Denji eventually join it, because it seems like that's the future of the story, that we'll eventually see all 3 of them in the club. But maybe that's why we're also seeing these characters like Seigi, Okaku, and Furio introduced so early, to help kind of transition us into the next part part of the story. I mean, this is all just my assumption. I'm totally prepared to being 100% wrong about all of this, but this is why I explained I don't think the 3 club members that we see here are actually dead by the end of the chapter, and 2 of them are actually named, so I don't know why they would be named if they were just gonna die here regardless. And we know how desperate Yoru wants to join to find Chainsaw Man, so it's really convenient that 3 official members show up here who can testify that she fought the Justice Devil, right? And even if they somehow forget because of their injuries, there's still the possibility that Yuko only killed 2 of the 3 bullies, so who knows, what if the girl who survived ends up becoming a witness for Asa and explains that it was her who tried to fight off Yuko? And like I had just said, I have no problem being wrong about any of this. That is completely fine with me, but you can notice the dots here if you really want to try to connect them. But coming to the end of the chapter, Yuko ends up cornering Yoru and explains to her how useless it is for her to continue fighting since she knows what she's going to do ahead of time, and even though Yuko is several steps ahead of her, it's still insane how well thought out her plan was in hindsight. It could have definitely worked if Yuko was unaware. But then Yoru says, I have one more plan, and then Yuko refers to it as the leave it all to Asa plan. And we're on the last page here. Yoru then lets Asa take over here, and Yuko just says, wait, what are you thinking? You absolutely can't do that. So I have 2 predictions here. I guess Asa intends to fight her, and that could explain why Yuko is trying to talk her out of it since she would just straight up lose, right? Or maybe Yoru is giving Asa the chance here to talk about this because it actually benefits Yoru if Asa can stall Yuko until Chainsaw Man shows up. But there's a lot of ways the next chapter can go because there's still the chance that Devil Hunters show up as well, because I imagine Yoshida would want to prevent Denji from taking this fight if he doesn't have to, but if not that, then hopefully we get some more explanation from Yuko. I'm sure there's a lot more to all of this than we know. But this is where I'm gonna end the video with, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, then make sure you subscribe. I cover the Chainsaw Man manga here on the channel every week, so make sure to subscribe to stay updated. But before I end the video, I just want to give a very special thanks to the channel's patrons: Iron, Justin, NixEXP, Paranormal Beluga, Jedi Knight 104, Peduko, and Malekith. Thank you so much for the support, guys. You guys are the best, and like always, if you're interested, you can sign up too and get into the monthly Q&A I do here on the channel. I'll be posting the next one up sometime at the start of November, so from now until the end of October, feel free to consider joining. You would also be helping me out a lot here in a massive way and get a special shout out like this in every single video. The link will be in the description below, or you could just search it yourself at patreon.com/Izanami. But other than that, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I would greatly appreciate it, and feel free to comment down below what your thoughts are on this week's chapter, anything you agreed or disagreed with, and yeah, have a great day.